everyone, welcome back to Perky Penny Paper Art's August Card-A-Palooza celebration. To celebrate my birthday and thank you all for subscribing, I'll be having a giveaway. The grand prize will be this beautiful and brand new Altenew floral alphabet stamp and die set. I fell in love with this set the minute I saw it and purchased 2 sets so I could gift one to a lucky subscriber. To enter, subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of my August videos, and then watch and comment. 1 comment equals 1 entry, 1 comment per video uploaded in August. It's that simple. Check out the link in the description below for more information. Be sure to check out parts 1 and 2 also. You can comment and use those to enter as well. I created a sketch for each of the cards that I'll be creating today. The cards will be stamped, 1 or very thin 2-layer cards. The challenge I gave myself was to create 4 cards using at least one of the stamps in an unexpected way. I had a lot of fun and hope you enjoy the cards. As you can see here, I stamped 2 of each of the flower pots onto Simon Says Stamp masking paper and fussy cut them out, and then set them aside for when I was going to need them. To create this first card, I took the tall tulip vase, placed it in the center of my A2 card panel, and stamped it in Memento Tuxedo black ink, because I'll be coloring these images with Copics. I applied the mask over it and then placed the With Love stamp on my long acrylic block. I proceeded to stamp the sentiment in a repeat pattern over the card front, hooking each one together with the pretty scrolls at the ends. I staggered them so there wouldn't be a repeat one row after the other. After I was done stamping the background, I removed the mask and set the panel aside so I could color it when I was done with all of my stamping. The second card is the 3 flower pots stamped and masked at about 2/3 of the way down the panel. I stamped the center pot first and masked it, and then stamped the other 2. No other masking was necessary for this card. I then stamped the With Love sentiment below it, centered on the page. Again, we'll set this aside. There'll be quite a transformation on this one later. This third card is really fun. I took the Picket fence stamp and created a little flower stand. I first measured the space from the outer edge of each of the vertical slats on the fence. It was just over an inch, maybe like 1.25 inches. I then used the purple tape to tape off a section that was the same size as what I just measured. I then stamped the picket fence 2 times next to each other to create slats of wood all across the bottom of my panel. I missed the top line, but I just took my T-square and pen and drew it in. I flipped my panel over and stamped 2 of the picket fence stamps again, but this time I lined up the bottom part of the bottom slat with the top of the card. This creates a kind of stamped awning for the stand. Oh no, all that stamping and I dropped the lid. I'll re-stamp this panel off camera and you'll see it later when we're making its card. This last card is by far the most complicated but also the most rewarding. The first thing I did was stamp flowers from the short pot, once on the left bottom corner and once on the right bottom corner, and I masked them off. I then centered my picket fence and stamped that over the floral images, and removed my masks because I'll need the area exposed. I then took the wreath stamp and made sure that it was very clean on part of the stamp that I did not want to make an impression of. I then applied some purple tape to the stamp just before the wreath starts to curve. I used my sketch and the MISTI to line up the wreath. I was flabbergasted because I actually stamped the fence in exactly the same location that I had on this sketch, so this worked great to line everything up. I then inked up the stamp to the purple tape, removed the purple tape, and stamped. I repeated it a second time, mostly just inking about the flowers to make sure I had a nice dark impression. And now for the fun part. I took the panel out of the MISTI and extended the lines from the wreath using a pen and ruler. It just so happens that the width of the wreath and the width of the fence line up almost perfectly if centered. I just used my pen to extend the fence a tiny bit so it would meet up with the sides of the arch I had created. And here I have created a little garden arbor. I can think of a lot of uses for this card. I finished it by stamping the For You sentiment in the middle of the arch, and then I got ready for some mad coloring. So you don't get bored, I'll speed through this coloring. I used the same colors as my last video with a few additions that I'll list below and on the coordinating blog post. I will, however, walk you through some of this information that I think you will find useful while creating your cards. For the first card, I extended the arch down through the flowers with the black pen I used to draw the lines to create consistency with the image. I then colored it in with Copic markers and masked off the flowers at the bottom and the large flowers at the top. I took broken china Distress Oxide ink and a clarity stencil brush and created a sky background. I was careful around the colored images, as the oxide ink leaves a little bit of a residue. When I was done, I removed the masks and trimmed 1/8 inches off around the perimeter of the panel. I used the 1/2 inch side of my corner chomper on the top 2 corners of my panel and my card base, and attached my panel with some tape runner. Some clear Nuvo sparkle pen added some shine to the flowers, and this card is done. Card number 2 was quick and simple. I colored the flowers in jar and then took one of the pattern papers and cut a My Favorite Things large scallop stitched oval frame out of it. I colored it with one of the markers I used on the flowers to bring it all together, and then used my tape runner and attached the frame around the flowers. I attached the panel to a card base, and number 2 is done. I decided for card number 3 I wanted the images to be on a tabletop. I took my pen and ruler and drew a line to represent my table. I also wanted to create a wallpaper background, and chose a stencil to do so. I covered all of the images with their masks, and then attached this Hero Arts mosaic stencil to the card panel, lining up the bottom of the stencil area with the line on the card. I then took my trusty purple tape and attached the panel and stencil together on the back. I chose warm lipstick Distress Oxide ink and a Nuvo blending sponge this time. The reveal is super fun. Such great detail. I almost think we could stop here, but I had my heart set on coloring in the images. And that I did. After I was done with all of my coloring, I attached this panel to a card base, and this card was also done. I used a thanks die cut out of black cardstock for the sentiment on this last card, and as you can see, I used the pen and ruler to create poles for our flower stand. The background is colored in Copic marker BG000. I think it turned out super cute. Can you tell I really like these little shop cards? I hope you enjoyed watching as I took these images from the Mandy's Flower stamp set out of the box a little, and I hope it inspires you to do the same. Stay tuned for part 4 of my series on the Simon Says Stamp August 2018 card kit. Last week I promised a fun background technique that I wasn't able to do for this video because some of the material hasn't arrived. I'll be sharing that technique with you next week. For more information, please visit my blog at www.perkypennypapers.com and follow my Instagram at perkypennypapers. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and subscribe to my channel to see when new videos are uploaded. A list of supplies is available in the description of this video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.